Chapter 272, 272. The strong like the strong. As they pursue their strength and admire the world's first people, it is the strong who have great affection for their existence. Those people couldn't help but cheer for this ridiculous situation that happened before their eyes. Wow. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Long live the Waisons. Even though it had been a long time since the rubbing was over, the thunderous roar showed no sign of abating. Other unarmed men began to win one by one, but no one paid attention to the result. Chung Myung's blow was too intense. Oh, my god, the great student of Hinampa. Catching without using a sword. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon, how great it is to do Divine Dragon. Isn't this more than a rumor? Wasn't it a surprise? Surprise? Surprise is frozen to death. He's crazy when he's off guard on the stage. And Ambassador Gongcho gave a signal to start rubbing his nose. Who's off guard? It's a skill, a skill. Yes, if you feel wronged, you should win. Mount Hua Sect has become so strong. You beat that Hinam with a single blow. Minor disagreements were neatly ignored. Most of the people gathered here want to see the world's talented people who will lead Kongho in the future. It means that they are ready to cheer just by winning. But how can you not be so enthusiastic when you see this in front of you? But even with the loud roar, Chung Myung just had a sour look on his face. Well, you did a great job. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Mount Hua Sect. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Not a big deal. Mount Hua Sect. Mount Hua Sect. Mount Hua Sect. Chung Myung's mouth is starting to tremble. And Baek Cheon took a dim view of him like that's what he looked like. Good, good, good. Oh, no. Well, this is not a big deal, yay, car. Just smile, Chung Myung. It's going to explode somewhere. That's not good. I caught a little fish like that. That's what she says, but the body is honest. Then Chung Myung tried to spread his mouth out with his hands. Baek Cheon sighed deeply. A single blow. It was literally a blow. With just one shot, Chung Myung stole everyone's attention here. It's hard to tell whether it was done at once or simply annoying. However, whatever the purpose was, the result is the same. Now obviously everyone will pay attention to Chung Myung and Mount Hua Sect throughout the arena. Be careful, Chung Myung. Hey. Chung Myung turned his head slightly and looked at Baek Cheon. Too much attention is not a good thing. Look, everyone's already starting to be wary of you. At Baek Cheon's wink, he looked around. There is certainly more attention than before. The attention of the wildly cheering audience was obvious, but all eyes that were slightly different from that were focused on him. They are students of different factions who participated in the competition. Someone looks at him with agitated eyes and someone with wary eyes. They have eyes too, so I can't help but wonder how great Chung Myung is now. In this situation, it would be even stranger to be vigilant. But Chung Myung, who received the gaze, looked back. These bastards, where do you open your eyes? Just open your eyes. No, you crazy man. Fortunately, Baek Cheon, who was waiting next to him, quickly lowered Chung Myung and calmed him down. Now that you've shown me that, I have no choice but to be vigilant. What are you going to do if all these things are on the lookout? It's not even a fist anyway. That's true. Surely Chung Myung is not a man who can handle being vigilant and blah blah. Whether they know that is another matter. At that time, Chung Myung spoke softly, licking his lips. Remember, Sisuk. Hey. Don't go easy on me. If you deal with me properly, I think I can win if I do well next time. And take it easy. When you win, you have to crush it without blood or tears. That way, I won't be able to make eye contact with you the next time we meet. Are we the Hyukdu? There's something to learn from the black children. They move most efficiently because their face and their survival comes first, and their benefits come first. Keep that in mind, don't ever let it slide. To win, we have to win by a landslide. That way. Chung Myung's eyes glanced upwards. To the riders of each faction on the podium. They'll realize it, too. Who is this board for? There was a clear laugh in his eyes as he searched the long-ridden riders of the Nine Great Sect and the Great Sega. Meanwhile. Hey. The long-standing riders of each group who were watching the monument on the podium were also amazed. It's really amazing. Isn't that Mount Hua Sect's kid really good? I wasn't too careless, but for a moment I missed my move. I've heard the name Mount Hua Sect Sinryong a few times, and isn't he a great match? The voice was clearly imbued with sincere admiration. Chung Myung's skills were enough to surprise even the heads of Gufa and Ode Sega. Of course, their gaze also revealed an indisputable light of vigilance. No matter how hard it is. That Kwok Won-so skills were not lacking at all. But you didn't even react. This goes beyond the question of whose skills are better. This is a result that can only be seen if there is at least one difference. No, even if there is more than one distribution difference, most would not dare to defeat Kwok Won-so at a single blow. The hard work was done by that Mount Hua Sect mystery. Mount Hua Sect the Divine Dragon. Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. That's more than I've ever heard. Most of the writers here disagreed with the idea that the Mount Hua Sect Divine was the world's most backward. It's not exactly that I don't recognize the ways in mythology. It's more of a failure to recognize the false name of the world's most latecomer. In fact, the position had to be judged only by those who had begun to evaluate and strengthen the position. It's almost impossible to compare all the world's reviews. In addition, if it is a gateway that is about the 9 great sect or the 5 generations, each group has its own future and has a future at stake in each group. If my student is strong, I can overturn such evaluations as much as I want. This was the idea that each long rider had in mind. At this moment, however, the idea that perhaps the fame gained by the Mount Hua Sect divine was by no means an empty name took over their heads. Will their students be able to show that? I even doubt that. No one would nod easily to the question. The words of blessing that came and went in ceremonial ways died down little by little. As the absurd result began to be interpreted, vigilance began to prevail. Humph. In that strange atmosphere, Hyun-jong had to use Mu-jin's efforts to calm his shoulders, which kept stretching as if he had pulled a rubber band. It is not that difficult to guess the insides of the long riders who keep losing their words. That would be ridiculous. But it can be a little more absurd. Hyun-jong has been going through that absurdity for years. This moment has finally come in return for enduring all those years. This is the moment when we show everyone the name of Mount Hua Sect's Chung Myung. At that time, Tang Gunnik sneaks up to Hyun-jong with a complaint. Congratulations, Mount Hua Sect. Ha, ha ha. I'm sure you were lucky. What do you mean luck? Humility is proportional if it goes too far. Is there anyone else who can do something like that? In the words of Tang Gunnik, someone intervened and replied. You're not wrong. A little surprised Hyun-jong turned his head in wonder. This is because it was Jongnam's long rider, Jong Hagum Jong Nigok, who intervened in the conversation. I'm Chung Myung, the Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. That's exactly what I saw in the old Jong Awei branch. He is a person who can aim for the world's best in his later generation. What the F***ck are you said? Did I eat something wrong? Hyun-jong, who was looking at Jong Nikok as if he didn't understand, nods his head. That's what you really. Southern Edge Sect was the place where Chung Myung humiliated the most in the world. If you can't change the result, Chung Myung might as well prove his skills. That way, Southern Edge Sect won't be a fool who's humiliated by someone who's nothing. Of course, I hate it so much that I want to kill Chung Myung again and again. That's the case. Well, as expected, Mount Hua Sect Divine Dragon. Hyo Dujin is starting to praise Chung Myung for having similar thoughts. Dang Gunnik and Hyo Dujin. The two men's words have to weigh differently. When Hyo Dujin stepped forward, all the other riders hid their vigilance and began to offer words of blessing and praise. Congratulations, Jang Moonin. Haha. It's not too far for Mount Hua Sect to regain his old reputation. Hyun-jong's mouth began to tremble. It is the child who establishes the face of the parents, and it is the student who establishes the face of the writer. Where is there a job here that makes his side even more certain? Thank you. Hyun-jong covered his mouth with his fist and coughed in vain. Looking down, I could see Chung Myung doing the jab with Baek Cheon. Sometimes it's a bunch of crap that I've built all my life, and it makes me want to get on top of it and throw it away, but it can't be this pretty at times like this. First of all, if it's Chung Myung's job, it's Hyun-jong, who is desperately feeling Hyun-young's cheap feelings at this moment. At heart or whatever, there was one person who couldn't get in the mood while everyone was celebrating Mount Hua Sect. It was just a surprise attack. Well. Those who turned their heads at the absurd remark identified the speaker and smiled humbly. Jiamniang Baek, a long-standing rider of the Henam faction. He shouted with a face almost black because he was not red. I acknowledge the outcome of the game. But if he hadn't let his guard down, he wouldn't have come to an end so easily. Dang. Gunnik, who was listening to the excuse, laughed bitterly. You're bringing disgrace on your face. For a warrior, being careless is more a shame than not being competent. Especially on the stage where we compete officially. Isn't that something that can never happen? But at the same time he understood how Jiamniang Baek felt. Maybe it's hard to think rationally right now. A student who has been raising him dearly has been smashed and Henam's name has plummeted. From the perspective of a long-time rider who leads a group, nothing could be worse. Wait and see. The other children will soon prove that Henam is not this good. No one responded to the angry Jiamniang Baek. Only one word has definitely penetrated into everyone's head. Other children. The well-known Mount Hua Sect Sinryong Chung Myung's skills were confirmed with his eyes. So what about the skills of Mount Hua Sect's other disciples? He turned to the disciples of the Mount Hua Sect faction, where the eyes of the long-lived were gathered. Depending on the outcome. Maybe this arena will be a venue for the Waisons. The faces of the long-ridden people began to get serious. Listen carefully. Baek Cheon opened his mouth with a stiff face. Never copy this guy. And he frowned at Chung Myung sitting next to him, tearing up jerky. If a Bapbeard follows a stork, its crotch is torn, and if we try to imitate Chung Myung, its head is broken. Don't try to win at once, just focus on showing off your skills. Do you understand? Yes, Sahyung. Okay. S.A. Suk. Well. Everyone was sympathetic to Baek Cheon. However, Chung Myung only tilts his head back as if he has different thoughts. That's not it, Sisuk. It's noisy. Baek Cheon shouts out. Don't make me do what you can, let me do what we can, man. What's the big deal about catching them? Oops. In the end, he turned his head as if he was not going to deal with it anymore. And I ask you again. Anyway, never copy what Chung Myung does. Do you understand? Yes. No matter how scared Chung Myung is, if Baek Cheon and Chung Myung's opinions clash, it's right to follow what Baek Cheon says. It was that moment. S.A. Sahyung. Jojiol starts the race. Oh. Baek Cheon shouted quickly, startled. Jojiol, you stay calm for now. Bang. Baek Cheon's lost cry went right in. Everyone stared blankly at the stage. Jojiol, who blew his opponent out of the unarmed area with a single shot, was also looking at the convulsed opponent, who fell outside the field. Hey, calm down. Jojiol alternately looked at his sword and his fallen opponent. And slowly turned his head. Having made eye contact with Baek Cheon, he smiled a few times and said in an expression of resentment. S.A. Suk. Hey. These bastards are too weak. Too weak? The disciples of the Nine Great Sect? At that time, Chung Myung, who looked at this side with round eyes, began to giggle. Ba. So they're like worms, huh? Oh, that's what you meant. Look at how arrogant my colleague is. Something's definitely wrong. No, it was Baek Cheon who realized that it was starting to work too well.